The Butter Battle Book by Dr. Seuss. On the last day of summer, 10 hours before fall, my grandfather took me out to the wall. For a while he stood silent, then finally he said, with a very sad shake of his very old head, "As you know, on this side of the wall we are Ukes. On the far other side of this wall live the Zooks." Then my grandfather said, "It's high time that you knew of the terrible, horrible thing that Zooks do. In every Zook house, in every Zook town, every Zook eats his bread with the butter side down. But we Ukes, as you know, when we breakfast or sup, spread our bread," Grandpa said, "with the butter side up. That's the right honest way," Grandpa gritted his teeth. "So you can't trust a Zook who spreads his bread underneath. Every Zook must be watched. He has kinks in his soul. That's why as a youth I made watching my goal. Watching Zooks for the Zook watching Border Patrol." In those days, of course, the wall wasn't so high as I can look any Zook square in the eye. If he dared to come close, I'd give him a twitch with my tough, tutted, prickly snickberry switch. For a while that worked fine. All the Zooks stayed away, and our country was safe. Then one terrible day, a very rude Zook, by the name of Van Itch, snuck up and slingshotted my snitchberry switch. With my broken off switch, with my head hung in shame, to the Chief Yuckaroo in great sorrow I came. But our leader just smiled. He said, "You're not to blame, and those Zooks will be sorry they started this game. We'll dress you right up in a fancier suit. We'll give you a fancier slingshot to shoot." And he ordered the boys in the back room to figure how to build me some sort of triple sling jigger. With my triple sling jigger, I sure felt much bigger. I marched to the wall with great vim and great vigor, right up to Van Itch with my hand on the trigger. "I'll have no more nonsense," I said with a frown, "from Zooks who eat bread with the butter side down." Van Itch looked quite sickly. He ran off quite quickly. I'm unhappy to say he came back the very next day in a spiffy new suit with a big new machine, and he snarled as he said, looking frightfully mean, "You may fling those hard rocks with your triple sling jigger, but I also have my hand on a trigger. My wonderful weapon, the jigger rock snatch'em, will fling right back just as quick as we catch 'em. We'll have no more nonsense, we'll take no more gup from you Ukes who eat bread with the butter side up." "I failed, sir," I sobbed as I made my report to the Chief Yuckaroo in the headquarters fort. He just laughed. "You've done nothing at all of the sort. Your slingshots have failed. That was old-fashioned stuff. Slingshots, dear boy, are not modern enough. All we need is some new finagled kind of gun. My boys in the back room have already begun to think up a whopping whiz-zinger one. My right boys are thinking. They're on the right track. They'll think up one quick, and we'll send you right back." They thought up a great one, they certainly did. They thought up a gun called the Kickaboo Kid, which they loaded with powerful Poo-a-Doo powder, and ant eggs and bee legs, and dried fried clam chowder. And they carefully trained a real smart dog named Daniel to serve our country's first gun-toting spaniel. Then Daniel, the Kickaboo Kid Spaniel, and I marched back towards that wall, with our heads held up high, while everyone cheered and their cheers filled the sky. Fight! Fight for the butter side up! Do or die! Well, we didn't do, and we didn't quite die, but we sure get worse, poor Daniel and I. Van Itch was there too, and he said, "The old pig, the boys in my back room invented this rig called the 8-nozzled elephant-tooted boom blitz. It shoots high explosive, sour cherry stone pits, and will put your dumb Kickaboo Kid on the fritz." Poor Daniel and I were scared out of our wits. Once more by Van Itch I was bested and beat. Once again I limped home from the wall in defeat. I dragged and I sagged, and my spirits were low, as I thought that they ever could go, when I heard a boom-ba and a diddly-dill, and our butter-up band marched over the hill. The Chief Yuckaroo had sent them to meet me along the right side up song girls to greet me. They sang, "Oh, be faithful, believe in thy butter," and they lifted my spirits right out of the gutter. "My boy," smiled the Chief Yuckaroo, "we've voted and made you general. You've been promoted. Your pretty new uniform's ready. Get in it. The big war is coming. You're going to begin it. And what's more, this time you are certain to win it. My boys in the back room have finally found how. Just wait till you see what they've puttered up now. In this great new machine, you'll fly over the wall and clobber those butter down, Zooks one and all." Those boys in the back room sure knew how to putter. They made me a thing called the Utterly Sputter, and I jumped aboard with my heart all aflutter, and steered toward the land of upside-down butter. This machine was so modern, so frightfully new, no one knew quite exactly just what it would do. But it had several facets and sprinkled blue goo, which somehow would sprinkle the zooks as I flew, and gum up the upside-down butter they chew. I was racing pell-mell when I heard a voice yell, "If you sprinkle us zooks, you'll get sprinkled as well." Van Itch had a sputter exactly like mine, and he yelled, "My blue gooer is working just fine. And I'm here to say that if you ukes can goo zooks, you better forget it, 'cause zooks can goo ukes." I flew right back home, and as you might have guessed, I was downright disappointed, disturbed, and depressed, as I saw, just as soon as I stepped back on land, so were all the girls of the Butter-Up Band. The chief drum majorette, Miss Yuki Ann Sue, said, "That was pretty sour flight you just flew, and the chief Yukaroo has been looking for you." I raced to his office. The place was a sight. "Have no fear," said the chief. "Everything's all right. My bright back room boys have been brighter than bright. They've thought up a gadget that's newer than new. It's filled with mysterious moolackamoo, and you can blow those zooks clear to Salem Magoo. They've invented the Bitsy Big Boy Boomeroo. You just run to that wall like a nice little man. Drop this bomb on the zooks just as fast as you can. I've ordered all ukes to stay safe underground while the Bitsy Big Boy Boomeroo is around." As I raced for that wall with the bomb in my hand, I noticed that every last uke in our land was obeying the chief Yukaroo's grim command. They were all bravely marching with banners aflutter down a hole for their country and right side up butter. That's when Grandfather found me, and he grabbed me. He said, "You should be down that hole, and you're up here instead, but perhaps this is all for better somehow, and you will see me make history, right here and right now." Grandpa leapt up the wall with a lupulous leap, and he cleared his hoarse throat with a bloopulous beep. He screamed, "Here's the end of that terrible town full of zooks who eat bread with the butter side down." And at the very instant we heard a clup-clup of feet on the wall, and old Vitch clumped up. The boys in his back room had made him one too. In his fist was another big boy boomeroo. "I'll blow you," he yelled, "into pork and wee beans. I'll butter side up you into small smithereens." "Grandpa," I shouted, "be careful, oh gee, who's going to drop it? Will you or will he?" "Be patient," said Grandpa, "we'll see, we'll see."